Garternus? What are you doing?
It's too late to fully hide everything now. It's obvious, but maybe if I can keep my mentor talking, he won't notice as I slowly push things aside. Oh, nothing. You don't need to worry about it. I was just deciding to be up late studying, you know? You need to keep a sharp mind and a sharp wit and a sharp needle.
Studying, I see. Well, what would this be? Some type of sheet about... Oh, a letter.
Yeah,
Studying letters this late in the evening, are we?
yes, you see, for many informations, did you know that various textile makers, because we operate so far afield, like to send letters to each other with suggestions on new patterns and new textiles? I've recently received about the most fabulous dyeing techniques for silk. That is all in this letter. It's quite saucy. You understand? I would want to go read it to you now. It's still very late for that.
That's funny.
Yes.
I looked upon this one and I saw within it some kind of straga, was it?
Oh.
I didn't know you were considering traveling plans. That is what this is, isn't it? I would not find a suitcase a suitable surface for studying. Makes a poor table, don't you agree? Especially when there's one right there.
But an excellent way to keep my notes all organized in a place.
Garternus!
Yes, sir.
I would have you know I am an astute studier of many different cultures and things. As a result, my precise eyes can see through lies rather clearly, especially when they're so obviously laid out in front of my face. What are you doing upon this evening?
Sir? I want to leave, sir. And I don't think you can stop me.
Leaving, yes, that much is obvious. I'm more curious about where. What are you doing with that many notes and books? You're not going to some summit, are you?
Oh, no, sir.
Good! Summits are for pretentious hacks, and I would have no student of mine attending one.
Oh, no, of course, sir. Nobody would want to intentionally put themselves in that kind of ivory tower environment. So pretentious. After all, you've taught me so well in terms of dealing with other scholars that are lesser to your clear line of thinking.
Yes. Well, continue. What are you doing?
Yes. So. It was much more of, let's call it field work. I don't need to go and rely on any kind of pretentious symposium individuals for this. It's more of a fact-finding circumstance. I heard good intel, waving a letter around, not opening it, of a few contacts that I could speak to that could be something in the realms of a lead for scientific breakthroughs. It's fascinating new technology. You wouldn't understand. Oh, I shouldn't have said that.
I wouldn't understand, no?
No, at least not until I return.
It just so happens that I have been writing a thesis about absent physical studies within this very country. If it's something I did not understand, I would gladly send you off to research it. But unfortunately for this excuse, for your running off to have a nice vacation on my dime, I find no point in it.
Oh, it's not a vague...
You will unpack your things and return to your room.
Yes, sir. Foiled again. But the time will come eventually. We just have to wait.
Wait. Hold on a moment.
Oh, yes, sir?
This letter. I quite recognize this term. A mountain a bit to the southeast of here. This was Varnus Peak, was it not?
Yes, actually. Varnus Peak was indeed one of the locations that my little study tour would be attending, should I be permitted to leave. Is that of an interest of yours, sir?
Have you heard word of Varnus Peak? Are you aware of it?
Oh, in the same way that you No, many, many things, sir. I indeed involve myself in the matter of independent study of the geographies, as well as anthropologies and the textile arts. So, yes, I am familiar with the peak.
Then you may be privy to knowledge from that place. They say the Lich, the Grand Wizard, has recently been slain. Have you been aware of that, Gartrinus?
My master is somebody who can flip emotions on a dime, and in having spent many months in his company, saying yes or no could produce an outburst from this man. It was a 50-50 coin toss. Why, yes, sir, of course I've heard. Interesting news. The political shake-up alone will be the talk of the local towns for months.
Very astute. Then I shall have you know that I am gladly willing to fund this expedition of yours. After all, this matter is of some interest to me. You might be aware that...
Oh, you're so kind, sir.
Let me finish. You might be aware that my stay in Paltrak is, on the grand scheme, only temporary. I have many deeds to attend to back in Lexiandria. And, before I do that, there's one task that's been given to me upon commission. A histories that must be written in some regard. A histories you might find quite interesting. One of that region. One that, if written, taking a first-hand accounts, could shape the story of that history quite differently.
Oh, sir?
Behind you, 3 books down, center of the couch. There's an empty log there. Take it. Produce it for me.
Of course, sir.
You will pin this for me, on the cover of the book. A name quite interesting. Something to do with the region, or locally. The writer, of course. And let us see. A history of... perhaps a Galoin's history of the world. Would suit the title well?
Oh, but... Of course, sir.
Gartrinus, you'll listen to my words very carefully from this point on.
Of course, sir.
I have taught you many things, and that which I did not know, I purchased and funded many different books and texts to be delivered to this place for your knowledge. The backbone of textile knowledge you have accumulated has been in great debt to me. I understand recently you have gone about purchasing a textile mill. Well, what goes for a mill? What you said, it's a shack, but all the same, your own little shop?
I believe you enjoyed the silk shirt I made for you, sir.
That I did. It is a good shirt. And, in order to continue funding such things, you must not have an outstanding debt with a man like me.
Of course not, sir.
Let us make this final arrangement. Return to me with the Galoin's history of the world, and I shall undo some of the debts that you have put upon me.
There is a quiet contemplation of the phrase, some of the debts. I think that would be a very beneficial step to our professional and academic relationships, sir.
Good. Now then, there are aspects of writing a history that you must keep in mind. I shall inform you that historical accuracy is of the least importance.
Sir?
You might think that is a strange thing to say, but that is because there is no such thing as historical accuracy, you must understand. Not in the traditional sense. There are facts, and there are interpretations. And those two combined together are what make a history. Facts exist for the historian, to make histories. You must understand this if you're to write this memoir. There are a few things... You're a seamster. You should understand this sort of thing. The scattered thread of our life and the world needs to be sewn into something understandable to people. People are fools, Gartrinus, stupid even. Whether in the crib or the hospice, 4 legs to 3, mankind insists on being spoon-fed. The embodiment of a culture struggle will be quite apparent to one who is most active in it. Come on. Hey, Arcad!
Hey,
What's wrong?
well, now I came in, I don't really have much of a job to do right now.
Oh, why do we have to work all the time? This sucks. I don't like that. You don't like that either. So I was kind of hoping, I was kind of wondering, do you want to do something with me?
Oh, well, what do you got in mind?
Oh, well, I know you're like really good with a bow,
Yeah.
right? Well, I had an idea, maybe. I mean, everyone's getting really hungry, so why don't we go get some food, you know?
Man, are you saying we're doing this by the book or getting into a little trouble?
By the book, yeah, well, I mean, someone might complain, but if they were figured out, well, you were in the raiding corps or something for a while, right? Lich's personal archer? Something like that?
Yeah, it was something like that.
Well, now that, you've heard, right? No one's saying it out loud, but those boomies that came by earlier, they totally they took out the Lich. I could see it when I go out to see in the dungeon. I look around, I just noticed that everyone's just gone. There's tons of stuff that was stolen. There's all sorts of things. It's the best chance we got.
You know what? Yeah, fuck it. If we get caught, we get caught. But, how good are you at hiding?
Oh, I'm the best at hiding.
'Cause
Running, too.
if we get caught, I'm just letting you know if you're not quick enough to keep up.
Well, don't worry. I've got a few other people in mind. It should be known that finding core threads for you to sew together will be of the utmost importance for my purposes. And when you have those core threads, you need to carefully consider what it means to embody those threads. Perchance your encounters will lead you to find something within a culture, within the mountain, within this tumultuous realm that might show a change in attitudes of the people there, points of conflict in which people can get excited about.
So? Focal lenses. They capture light and recontextualize it in the truth of the lens.
Something like that.
As a result, the markup is necessary.
Well, everything is necessary in a focal lens. You need to make sure all the rims are sturdy enough and don't get bent. You gotta make sure it can sit in your face right. That cute little brat has such a small little face.
The size and shape of my brother's face is irrelevant to this. Don't you think this is a little on the expensive side? Are you trying to rob me out of house and home?
Well, Glory are my good friends. I would never do such a thing.
No,
Here.
of course.
I want to show you something.
Really?
That's my dearest friend here. These glasses are the ones that I had pulled out first because I wanted to show you some of the way the craftsmanship looks. But if you're all right with taking something a bit more standard fare, I assure you the focal lenses look just as fine. These have a bit of a broken brim, but I know that the Glory are quite good at doing arts and crafts, so why don't you just take these, fix out the lenses, you have a preset pair, and with that, maybe we'll give you another discount,
Didn't you say 2 seconds ago that the outer rim is necessary to focusing the different...
Well, what I was saying is that's true for a pair of glasses, but the problem is a focal lens broke on the boy's glasses, right?
Yes.
Then all you need is new lenses, right?
And I need to find a craftsman in order to do the repairs, which is a secondary cost.
Oh, come on. You can just give me your hoo-hoo and someone else will figure out in the village. Don't to do all sorts of stuff for free there. You can just do a task trade. You get to keep your hoo-hoo and everyone's happy.
Task trade. Listen, slowly and inexorably, the path of commerce leads ever onwards. It spreads throughout the village now. Whether I like it or not, I'm going to be paying you or paying somebody else, so just give me the original focal lenses.
Well, if you insist, give me the bag of hoo-hoo.
Fine.
Pleasure doing business as always, yai.
It's a pleasure. Admittedly, I do have to say, you get more keen at this by the day. Who are you learning from?
I learn from the street, and I trade with those who care not for me. It makes you very, very good at your job.
I did take your advice and I got the merchant's hat.
Good, good. It looks good on you.
Thank you. Now people will see me and make an assumption about why I'm here and why I'm carrying big bags of stuff, and people won't assume that I'm like here to loot the dungeon or something.
Many people make many great assumptions. It is what human do best.
I will, at the very least, I will pass along whether or not my brother's cute and adorable face is well suited by these. I appreciate you going out of your way to come to our village. Not many do.
I was not joking. The Galori have a special place in my heart and my trade routes.
I was about to say that was sweet until you added the second part. Thank you.
I'm just joking, okay?
Of course. Path of Commerce inexorably weaves its way around the entire dungeon.
Did you read that from a book?
I listen to the travelers that come through.
Listen a little closer. You'll learn a lot of very interesting things about how other people live.
Primarily curse words.
Go! That's good to know. I know every time I'm called out now. I have so many second names.
Yeesh.
Yes. I worry of your biases, Gartrinus.
How so, sir?
Collectivity is important for these things, but you cannot see true collectivity unless you see the ugly side of things. You must never forget one of the most important parts of relatability is in the ugliness of the soul, the ugliness of the culture. What sins have they put on others? How about their own? How do they treat them? Those that don't quite fit in. Perhaps you'll find there are some that don't quite fit what you would consider your ideal view when you arrive. Some who might very well shatter an illusion you might have held. Prepare yourself for that. And make sure your writing is clean and clear and precise from the beginning, or else it'll take quite some time to adjust your viewings to account for that. And on top of that, you should try to consider, perhaps, there may be insights you wish to grab from one on the outside. Humans will not take kindly to just you, I'm afraid. They need a token. They need something they think they can relate with. Look well for that, would you? Good. Having perhaps found those aspects, if you can memorize these and put these to heart, I fully believe that you will be more than simply a good apprentice. I think you have what it takes to perhaps create a history that will fit not just my purposes, but perhaps reflect well into the future. This will be many people's first understanding. Not many in my country have ever even had a Galoin visit any of our cities. It would be good to put your first step forward, should your textile industry explode.
Explode, sir? Although, setting that aside, I have once heard that history is written by the victors, sir. In which case, I can only hope that this fact-finding expedition for the both of us will truly be victorious.
Yes. Well then, I tip my hat to you, Gartrinus. Good luck.
And I'm glad the hat fits you well as well, sir.
That it does. Oh, and Gartrinus, one more thing.
Yes, sir?
Do be safe.
Oh. Of course, sir. Have you seen me to be uncautious yet?
You might be cautious, but I fear what lies in that mountain. What sort of dark tricks and pacts that Lich had designed. There are no doubt countless dangers, regardless if you might find friends amongst those foes.
And friends I do indeed hope to find, sir. Now it is late, and I must finish tidying this all away, and I know how you feel without an appropriate amount of rest, sir.
Yes. Good luck. May your travels take you to safety, Gartrinus.
I looked up at the sheer vastness of not just the carved structure of this doorway inn, but the entire geography it was set into. It was imposing, especially for Galoin, We're not very tall. There was a moment where I just stood and absorbed the space. I closed my eyes and tried to picture what it would be like to have this part of my world be my home. To see a sight this grand, this imposing, and yet this beautiful every day. And then I opened my eyes, smiled, and prepared to finally after years, make contact with my own. And everything was going to be perfect.
I'm not one for journals, per se. Perhaps it is simply because I've always had a good memory. Maybe to some degree it comes down to me being less interested in observing the past. But after dying... I suppose I have an interest in preserving my legacy, at least slightly. It is hard to find a point to start when one is dead. After all, there are so many good starting points for where everything might have gone wrong. I do remember from my exile long ago countless years of aimless drifting and wandering. It does not feel quite right to start there, but I suppose appropriate context is needed. I traveled through many lands as Luniatesh, none of which I could really call home. None like the home lost to me, at least. Countless lands with countless people, all of which gazed upon me with as much suspicion as I cast upon them. I followed suns across the horizon, searched for knowledge, and made a living as a hired bow. It was a simple life, though I spent very little time of it thinking about such things. I'm not sure if I really understood at the time how it made me feel. It was hard to feel without the... No, I digress. This is too much at once, and quite frankly, hardly relevant. I would say perhaps a true downfall would be when I found myself in the company of my first family. Or first new family, I should say. I found myself in the lands of Paltrak, to which I had come and finally made their acquaintance. They brought me in with looks of... Well, okay, to be quite honest, they gave me rather annoying looks. I called them family, but one's family does not need to be loved. After all, I didn't quite like them very much either. They were a rough bunch. It was not the indiscriminate killing that affected me. In such harsh times during my travels, it was not uncommon to find yourself stooping to such acts out of necessity. Instead, it was their mannerisms. You could tell each one of them had a life that was full of either leisure, privilege, or uncomfortable mental tendencies. All the same, for a time it was life. But eventually, it brought me here. And that's where I think things got wrong. So yes. I suppose the best place to start would be with my death. I believe it was the fall that killed me. Not the blast, not the tearing of the dungeon, as I finally made that singular final shot against the Lich. It was the fall. A bang on the head, and my multi-century-long life ended in a little bit of a splutter against the ground. So, it was to much great surprise when I woke up. Covered in blood and cave salamanders, just boring, giant cave salamanders as I scattered them off and got up. I did not fully comprehend my state of being until I got up and started dazedly wandering. I passed my broken bow, a broken sword, and I looked past in the water's reflection to see a broken woman. Washing the blood away from the face I had grown so familiar with from the reflections in mirrors and streams for so long, I noticed that something was different. It seemed that multiple stages of rot had already started to settle in, and at that point I noticed with clear eyes, bone jutting out was once an arm. I did not have much time to come to terms with that, however, as mere moments later, something for lack of a better term, fell? Hitting me, impacting me, and dragging me back to the ground.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. In spite of myself, I did a lot of fussing in that moment. After all, I'm trained in the art of textiles, and my eyes immediately went to her outfit. And then realizing it was torn, I looked at her arm, and then finally at her face. I'm not ashamed to admit I screamed, and then fell, ass over tea kettle, as it were, into the water.
I watched the boy drowning for a few moments. Eventually, I reached my hand forward, pulled him out, brought him to the shore, though I do not think the bony arm that wrapped around him so tightly and hardly ever really calmed his anxious reaction to my new form, one that I was still sort of comprehending myself.
I thought the lich of this place was dead, and this was not the plan that I had in mind. Excuse me, I'm so sorry to run in.
So the lich is dead.
Sorry.
The lich is dead?
Oh, then I suppose that explains. Unless there was, my eyes flicked down to the large smeared stain of blood on the floor, and then glancing back towards the mysterious young lady. I've not met many of your nature, although I have read it in a few anthropology textbooks. Is this a regular circumstance for you? Is losing this amount of blood? I'm sorry, I feel a little unwell. Do you mind if I sit down?
Sure. Yes. Go. Take a seat. I don't believe I'm well either, but I actually do feel quite great. Interestingly enough.
Well,
Are you... You're one of the Galoins, aren't you?
have you not met my kind before? I would love to introduce myself to you then. Despite my attempt to put cheer in my voice, it was probably pretty evident that I was working up the muster to suppress the fear and panic from both the fall and from meeting someone who I admitted they should definitely be dead. My name is Gartrinus Kanakana.
My body tensed up for a moment, but it seems like this one approached me jovially. On top of that, his garb seemed to be more fashioned out of Paltrak wares. Though I was not aware of many Galoins, context had brought me to be aware that this one might not have been a local. I reached out my hand and shook. You'll have to forgive me. I am dead, I suppose, and I'm not quite familiar with that. It seems that there are many things I'm taking in at once, and if you wouldn't mind, I have a few questions that I would like to ask. For one, I looked up, gazing at the ravine that had formed right below the Lich's throne room, looked down at this one again, and decided to start from the beginning. So the Lich is dead. How long has that been the case?
Oh my, I thought back to the conversation I had with the one and only Zarlamander Eflacram not long ago. Very recently, as I understand, I think he was a little vague on when. I think he was trying to test my knowledge, which is within his nature. Sorry, I'm getting distracted. I do believe that was... I do believe it was relatively recently. It shouldn't have been more than maybe a few weeks, maybe a month ago.
A month?
Yes. Is that a problem?
I wanted to breathe out a sigh. I felt it build up. But instead, an empty exhaltation with very little air left in my lungs came out like a peter, like a death rattle of a sound emerging out from my nose. A hollow whistle. As I stared back at this one again. Well... I simply wanted to gauge what time it was, how long I'd been dead. I'm sure it's fine. It's fine. Did you not see any sort of party of adventurers? Adventurers being kitted out murderers with swords and magic on your way in?
Not in my initial attempt in spelunking, no, madame. Although I must say, in a desperate attempt to try and smooth over the situation, or at least put the mysterious young lady at ease. For somebody who may have been down here a month, I think you look in astoundingly good condition.
I paused for a moment. I maintain the same nonplussed expression, but when faced with such cordial pleasantries, I really just wanted to rip off his hat and see him jump for it. Little brats that jumped between being anxious or people-pleasing always gave me the most trouble. But I held it together for the moment. Yes, thank you. I would hope that if you're more than capable, could you perhaps show me out of here?
Well, setting aside the fact that you didn't laugh, but we'll let that go. I looked back up at the way I entered into this particular chamber. Now, let it be known I'm no fool. I didn't come to the mountain unequipped. After all, there is adventuring gear that all people who go on expeditions must carry, and I kept a handy checklist. I have a variety of thread at my disposal, and something of a length of rope, but to make something long enough to get back up there with no sensible foothold, well, that wasn't going to be happening. Unless you happen to be equipped with any particular teleportation or apportation variants of the absent physics, we may be in a little bit of a pickle. But do not worry, I have enough supplies to... Oh, I suppose actually if you've been here for a month, you're probably not that interested in eating. Still, I do have...
You don't know the way out.
Not immediately, no, sorry. I'm... Yes.
Then, why did you jump down a ravine?
As I moved past the threshold, the excitement on my face bled away with every step. I had envisioned a horde of smiling Galoins welcoming me when I was making my way here, but I was not prepared for this. All that I had been welcomed with was, well, the absolute hideous way the entry carpet had been treated. I mean, the weaving of the fabric in particular would have taken somebody with this style of technique maybe about 2.5 months to do this entire floor space. And it had been treated like, well, common cotton or muslin. Unacceptable. Sorry. Focusing on the matter at hand, the damage done was more than just carelessness. The battles I had seen were only ever in books or on the town's outdoor stage during festivals. Heroic, maybe even cool. Real combat wasn't something that had passed through my vision, but I could only assume with the damage and the associated bloodstains scattered about that something incredibly quick and incredibly violent had happened here, and not that long ago.
From his description, it fit rather well with our sort of introduction to this place. It seems by that point the barrier the Lich had placed over the throne room had faded, and he was allowed access forward. He did not have to see more of our bloody detour than to the east as he traveled. All the same, on his path, it was at this point he encountered something that I incorrectly assumed that what he encountered was a giant cave salamander. Not like the ones that were feasting upon me, but instead one who could fully be considered an adult. Dropping down from the roof, lurking, it seemed to have slammed down beneath him, wrapping around the carpet almost silently, only becoming apparent to Garternus moments later as he began to crawl his way forward after unwrapping his form.
I suppose when the master said that I was supposed to be careful, this was maybe what he was talking about. Okay, let's see. What can I do here? With my lower arms, I rummaged around in my cloak for something, anything that would be hard enough to make a sound upon impacting. I forget what ended up in my hand, but I hurled it as far as I could down the corridor. Beasts like this might really be drawn more to heat or sound more than vision. At least I hoped so in that moment.
Alas, as we learned slightly later, it was rather hungry that day. And as it charged into Garternus,
The forms seemed to almost emerge out, splitting up, forming an almost wall of flesh and dermis that seemed to scour around back and forth across the room. A magnificent specimen capable of moving, shifting, and merging within the terrain, pressing and forcing him back deeper inside into the Lich's throne room.
Oh no, how?
In this moment, there was no option for Gartrinus to take. All he could do was be pushed back into the Lich's throne room and run. On the other side of that door, the beast simply unraveled its body, squeezing through the door one segment at a time. By the time it unraveled, I assumed the only option you had was to jump down the ravine, the only possible safe place left.
Yes, at least of my small stature. I did take a peer down to what was down below, and there did seem to be water, and hopefully with my stature I'd be able to land in it, but I seem to have miscalculated. Apologies.
I waited for a moment, calculating very particularly what that meant. If something did finally break through my general malaise and affected me ever since waking up, it was this. So we should probably go then, right?
Oh, it is probably still up there, isn't it? I don't suppose you're any good in a fight, are you?
I am afraid that my weapons are broken.
Oh, we'll just have to make do.
It was upon that moment that upon looking up, we noticed a form slowly starting to slide its way down the wall. It seemed to be taking careful steps around the rather thin, makeshift opening that had just formed from the destruction of the Lich. We wasted no time. Or at least I didn't, as I almost immediately began running away from him.
No, you don't. I'm not going to...
Oh, this is a really good idea. I'm feeling really confident about this.
Okay, remember. If this goes a very specific way, and it looks like big, dangerous people, throw me out first. And this isn't a trap. This is a shop. They won't come and bother us if they assume that I'm going to sell them potions or something.
Oh, I get it. Yeah, no, I think that'd work. In fact, I know that we're hunting a Sadatarat, but it doesn't really matter too much.
It's how we've scraped by up to this point, to be honest. Lots of big, scary adventurers come through here, and they don't bother us if they just assume, oh, this is a merchant outpost. They don't even know I'm Galoin.
I don't know about letting the adventurers pass through.
What are you gonna do? Stop them?
Shoot them.
Yeah. So that's where I've been running into issues, actually. A lot of the time, people will just be like, oh, I don't believe you're a shop. The second you're gonna turn our backs, you're gonna shoot us. That was you, okay.
Hey, come on. I've been looking around. The adventurers are long gone. Come on. I was the one who came up with this idea, and I'm also the one who did all the scouting beforehand. We're set.
I'm just saying.
Look, the Sadatarat is the only thing we gotta worry about. And if you think you can make it buy something, go for it.
Listen, it's a cover story in case adventurers come by. Because while capturing food might be nice, capturing people with swords and spells and all other sorts of nonsense is significantly less nice. So we scare them off with the one thing most people hate: overpriced goods.
Maybe you could just give them hoo and kill it for us.
That'd probably work, actually.
Actually, you know who has a lot of hoo-hoo?
Who's that?
Adventurers.
That is...
If we shoot them, we could just grab the coin first.
I understand. I definitely understand where you're coming from, but at the same time, let's just... What are the odds? Pretty low, right? You said they were all gone, right? We don't need to shoot any or fight any adventurers, right?
Oh yeah, trust me. I know all that stuff. They're long gone.
Long gone. But if they show up, I'm gonna run out and give them the sales pitch. So get ready for that.
You should give me your sales pitch. What is it?
Hello, brave and noble adventurers. Welcome to Yayo's Discount Goods. Do you want potions? Do you want a 3-for-1? And then I usually pick a total that seems unaffordable to them. It's the main way that I've been feeding information back to the village so we know how to stay out of their way. Those people carve a bloody path through here. Like...
oh yeah, it's crazy.
You know, the way the boomies get that much hoo-hoos by just robbing people like us, right?
Oh, yeah, that's why we gotta stay out of their way.
I'll tell you what, that's what I've been doing this whole time, and look at me, prospering. So, hey, Strage, how's the trap going?
Is going good. I think it will be strong enough. If it's not, then like be ready to run.
Yeah, okay. I mean, again, I'm pretty good at that. Look, I think we got a great running crew. You can run, right, Yayo?
I've run before.
Looking at that bag, I'm not sure he's gonna run very far.
I've run at least twice.
Twice?
Push comes to shove, you can always try to haggle with the monster.
You think that'll work? Do they speak the language of commerce?
Yeah, just in case we actually run into a big monster, just fall on the ground and act like a dead animal. Wearing enough pelts to look like one.
Hey, don't monsters eat those?
If boomies can barter, I'm sure whatever this thing is can too.
Fair enough. Listen, I spent most of my time studying our village's history, not going out and doing whatever you guys do, which is apparently shoot bows at the boomies and build traps.
I mean,
Yeah. We're so cool like that. We're adventuring of our own, you know, except
Yeah.
we're cooler and we shoot
You're
boomies instead
cooler.
of getting shot at.
That's
And
very cool.
look, could you just can you just make sure that all the goods we're using just, nicely disappear from the ledger books? Maybe?
Nicely disappear. No, this is a fully funded expedition from the village's
No.
treasury.
No. Come on. I brought you here because, I mean, you're the most suited for making sure that all of this gets properly sorted
Exactly.
so that Orya Batakanatat does not get mad at me again.
Of course, you've given me a wonderful opportunity to test out the beauties of accounting.
Yeah.
That's that disgusting number thing that boomies do.
For the most part, it acts as a universal form of communication for the people out there primarily.
Wait, they communicate with numbers?
Oh yeah, that's the beauty of this.
hoo-hoo's the only language they speak.
Pretty much. As a functional future village elder, learning to communicate with the exterior is one of my top priorities, and mostly figuring out how to funnel them around and away from our lands.
Yeah, well, you're gonna need to do that soon. I mean, the Lich is dead. I mean, if we even make it that long.
Yeah, fair enough. Troubled times ahead, etc. I guess hunting a monster and collecting various material goods that can be traded would be probably wise. What do you make of that?
Make it what?
The Lich dying and everything. What do you make of it? How do they do that?
I mean, isn't a Lich's whole thing is that it's already dead?
Yeah, exactly.
Can you
How
really...
do you kill that which isn't alive?
Yeah, like, I don't believe it. I think this is just some sort of, like, morale boost thing where it's just like, we think he's dead, but then he comes back, and it's just like, haha, you think those fools could defeat me? And, yeah.
Oh my god, maybe they were looking for a discount. Like, oh, we don't want to buy any of your potions, specifically because why would we need them? The Lich is dead. Give us them half off. That make I felt for haggling tactic, man.
Look, haggling tactic, secret ploy to get us all in trouble. Look, as long as we're fast and we get this done with quick, that should be A-okay. All of them had heard the scream at that point. The howl of the new companion I had running across the way.
Help!
Hold on, let me out there. That sounds barterable.
Is that a Galoin?
Wasn't there something I was supposed to be doing today?
Oh, I think I see people up ahead. Please help.
Finally coming into view, I noticed all of them standing at least close nearby a outpost that had been set up within the cave. We had never come this way prior, so seeing it assembled there along with them gave me a bit of an idea. Quickly, run under it.
In Sotto. Underneath that thing?
Welcome to Yayo Mello Yayo's Discount Potions and Curiosities. How can I help you? You are large.
In that moment, I simply vaulted over the small thing, jumping underneath side the podium and crouching down as best I could.
We're under attack. Take the shot.
The archer, who I learned was Arkad later, began loading up the bow, but as I realized shortly, twisting and pulling its way forward, it seemed to bring itself around. Finding a sort of avenue of attack, it crawled into a central point. Meanwhile, on the side route, Strege had managed to prepare the trap and get it operational within the last few moments of conversation. Though it was a sudden affair, it was not entirely a disaster. But in a moment, wrapping around, the creature found itself arced up for a moment. And it was at that point, crouching underneath the pedestal, looking out and gazing at it, I noticed a shift in its demeanor. It seemed to almost stop for a moment. The many segmented form of its body started to shift ever so slightly. It pulled itself, and almost nearly invisible seams on its mouth began to crack open. A hidden mouth and hidden eyes began to open up on its form. As staring directly across this thing, which could not previously stare, opened up eyes and gazed out at all of us. Blinking, several dozen segments looking directly across, its form twisting, a mimic creature. Not one known as a giant salamander, a rather uninteresting tame beast which is easier to kill. But instead, it was something of a personal interest of mine. A baby bassamander? Look at it! Hey, Carcinus, look!
Ow, 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 ow. Yeah, yes.
Do you see the eye segments? If they stare at you, they'll kill you. Just be very careful about that. But, I suppose I can look now, after all.
Then in that case, I will leave this to you then, miss.
Alas, it looks like it has a bad appetite. And when these things get hungry, they can eat a whole village.
Oh, what? Guys, I don't think I can partner with this one. Scramble, 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 scramble. Hop.
That's understandable.
No.
All right, everyone, get behind the trap, please.
Please don't. I know. A guitar, fellow Colonel Inns. I do desperately need your assistance. If you wouldn't mind standing with us to make sure that we do not perish on this day, it would fill me with Gwalik, indeed. Why are you laughing? Please stop laughing.
That was the most
It's not Gwalik. It's, if anything, this is just very Gwal.
We'd be happy to stand with you. Hi, friend of, looking past at the big person behind. Just like, oh my God. Is that one of the adventurers that came through earlier? More than happy. Welcome. A complimentary service of Yayo's Potions and Curiosities, removing any giant salamander. That is not a giant salamander, is it?
I noticed the one approaching, with a lady's hat on, as unfortunately I had very little time to answer her questions, as roaring rather suddenly, with a strange type of roar that was both guttural but also still this deep yet shrill type of scratch. This noise that seemed to emerge and echo throughout its segmented body before emerging from a mouth, as the eyes snapped shut and the thing began to mobilize itself. A classic hunting tactic of the bassamander. To move quickly, isolate, feed, and then leave. And it had already prepared its first target. The one who was the most colorful of them all. In that moment, were I in a better sort, I might have snapped into action trying to find some sort of weapon. But I'm afraid that at the time, these things were rather much of an interest of mine. All sort of apex predators were fascinating, and as a result, I acted rather unprofessionally, I would say. You know, do you know about these things? Perhaps? Well, I just wanted to maybe bring them up. After all, you are aware of what a Basamander is, right?
Absolutely not. I spend most of my time in the village.
Oh, wonderful. It's a type of creature that can stun you with its eyes, flay you with its
Really?
claws, and also whack you with its tail. Its body can bend almost up to 720 degrees before it ends up needing to revert back. That's both,
Really?
that's considering a twist in one direction. It can also coil its body even more than that. But on top of that, its bite is full of deadly toxins. You know, it's actually one of the greatest apex predators inside of a cave system. I say this because, well, it seems like it's going to strike soon. So I was hoping if perhaps maybe you could give me some kind of weapon. I really wanted to try to see what happens if you cut into it with a knife. I've heard the dermis is very, very strong. I know you have the hat on.
The merchant's hat. Right, yes.
The hat of a noblewoman? A noblewoman always carried daggers, correct?
Yeah, definitely. Told me it was a merchant's hat, not a noblewoman's hat. I thought I was doing merchant stuff up to this point.
Seeing this explorer move from concern to open enthusiasm did put me a little bit on the back foot, I will admit. But seeing other Galoins here finally put me in a position of, strangely enough, wanting to impress them. I moved over to one of the rocks by the side of the cavern, picked up a solid one that had some heft in my hands. And then I did my best to hurl it into the open, segmented eye of the creature. A risky maneuver, but I knew I had to try something.
Meanwhile, as Garchinus moved along the way, he quickly grabbed a rock, and upon tossing it, it almost perfectly fell into one of the cracks between the different segmentations where the eyes would rest. A hit that landed almost perfectly to stun the creature momentarily, shock it, and have it turn. However, as the beast shifted and moved around, I noticed it beginning to focus in on its remarkable feature of a Basamander, that of regeneration. Slowly, the eyelid began to unbruise as different parts of the dermis plating began falling off and other aspects of its body began to shift and move.
Nice throw.
Thank you.
You've got the hunter's eye, I said as I loosed an arrow directly at this thing's head.
Ringing out through the air, the arrow impacted deeper into another one of those segments. Though, judging by its response, I imagine that this eye was more precious than the other. One of the fake egg sacs implanted into one of the eyelids of the dermis. It seemed to have a rather violent reaction at that, shifting its body rather intensely as it struggled around the area.
All right, get out of here.
Oh, don't worry. Yeah, I was way ahead of you. Bye. I'll go get help. I never saw that creature again until the Basamander was dead, but
Sorry, no knife. Excuse me.
the other creature, Yayamela Yayo, found her way past me and picked up a rock and seemed to stay in waiting. Meanwhile, despite seeing another form approaching, the creature began marching its way forward, crawling and slithering across the way and almost dragging its way forward till it could almost arc its way upside the small battlements that were laid there. At that moment, I could see its mouth beginning to open, its long mandible that could swallow you whole shifting open. At that moment, I felt a great desire to inspect inside the mouth, see just how big the fangs were, understand just how deep this thing could go, but on top of that, I noticed it began to lunge forward. But at the very last moment, it seemed to dip. A tail that was ever so slenderly falling back, twisted multiple times over, and then arced over in an attempt to whack Arkat down to the ground. Despite that, in that moment, Arkat was swift on her feet. The tail that whipped on over her head seemed to almost redirect itself down. As she pulled her way beneath the pillar for a moment, it's slipping right above until quickly readjusting herself without giving much ground at all. And seeing its attack missed, it seemed to begin to shift ever so slightly, changing its approach. But the very twitch it had, I already noticed that the Galoins had begun to shift, moving ever so quickly to almost pull themselves to new locations as the combat evolved around them. The creature seemed to shift its mouth open again, but keeping the eyes shut after the recent assault, it seemed to almost grasp around wildly, seeking for prey to chomp on, its fangs glistening with a venomous toxin. Seeing as the Galoins seemed to have a plan, I understood that in this moment, there was a way to combine my curiosity and what was practical. Stepping up, I decided to test the limits of my new body, and noticing its mouth ajar, I simply jammed my skeletal arm inside of it. The result was rather interesting. Upon feeling for some sort of external object entering the mouth, I noticed that it bit down almost immediately. It kept biting against the arm even though it had no real understanding. Its brain seemed rather small in that case, and its apex abilities were all instinctual. It simply knew to bite down against something that was approaching it. Fascinatingly, I kept examining the way the poison traced around the arm, the way it almost burned when it hit my bone. Meanwhile, however,
Naturally, in that moment, I followed the most natural course of action to one in such a situation. I began to scream as she jammed her arm directly into the creature's mouth. There was nothing else to it. I began to scream, and I let loose with the stone that I'd picked up.
The rock was a rather sudden entry, as it slammed into the Bassamander that was distracted, impacting against the side of its head rather fortuitously. One of the antennae almost snapped off at the sudden jagged rock slamming against it. Though it was an expertly timed shot, I found myself ever so slightly annoyed by it as I was learning so much, but eventually I dragged myself back, and I noticed the creature almost shift, its attitude changing over the sudden assault. As the rock impacted again, its form much more shifted, the eyes opening up, it attempting to look across and make contact with anyone it could see, the eyes drifting for fellow eyes to gaze into.
Eventually, I did manage to stop screaming long enough to put two thoughts together. I thought in no possible universe could somebody ever, under any circumstances, mash their hand into a creature like that's mouth. So I ran forward as fast as I could and tried to yank her away from danger. Okay, let's get you out of here. Why aren't you leaving?
Fine. Just let me go. Just stop touching me. I did not leave, however, as I stayed rather enraptured by the form. My obsession had somewhat faded, on the other hand, but I did realize that to some degree I was necessarily attempting to hold my ground against it. There seemed to be some type of trap they were going to lay, and I needed to hold here at least for a little while longer until that was sprung.
After I loosed the arrow, I looked around the cave. Darkness, can you help me with this rock?
Oh, yes, of course. I took the opportunity to immediately start working with my new colleagues and followed her over to a much larger rock that would be trivial for us to both lift together.
Hefting a large rock together, the two almost held this thing directly in their hands, lifting it up and hoping to toss it at the creature. The Bassamander retreated slightly, its many eyes locking in and looking at the Galoins in the corner. Despite its minimal intelligence, it seemed to be aware of the rock being lifted up into the air, and as a reaction, the many eyes dancing around the segments of its body simply stopped, blinking in sequence, staring across, and all directing their attention over in the direction of those who hefted it. As the eyes locked to Arcot, almost reflexively her eyes shut. Despite that, guiding with the hand, almost trusting in the grip of her partner lifting the rock, she knew that there was one singular direction to throw it. It wasn't so complicated. After all, the thing's long form could be hit in numerous ways. The large rock tossed forward without linking eyes with the creature's stunning gaze, trailed through the sky, flying forward and landing almost directly inside one of those segments, crushing down and almost breaking into the creature. Multiple eyes seemed to shift and pop as the thing almost howled and began to twist around.
Oh, fabulous work, miss.
Yeah, you're not so bad yourself.
Another one of those guttural howls rang out, the entire form shifting and shuddering in that moment. And as the rock slowly was pushed off by the creature's flailing, I noticed in that moment a shift in the air. Where the creature was hunting easy prey previously, now it came to understand, as I did, that it was one being hunted.
It seems that we're both cracking shots, miss. If I might. I reached inside my custom-sewn coat, lined with many pockets, and grabbed my trusty sewing needles, slipping them between my fingers like throwing knives. With nearly the exact same precision of my fellow Galoins, I flung the needles, and they sang through the air when leaving my grip. There was barely a glint in the air as the needles landed in multiple jabs in the soft, pale parts of the beast's flesh. There was a glint, almost imperceptible, of the threads that were still attached to the needles. Now, with the prey where I wanted it, I yanked backwards with all 4 of my arms at full strength. I needed to lean almost fully backwards as I yanked and dragged the Bassamander across the platform towards the edge of the cliff.
It was a small movement. The entire mass of this small Galoin I had known screaming and muttering in anxiety almost moments before lifted this beast forward and pulled it deep into this trap. A step was all that was needed. As it shifted forward, the wire was sprung, and in that moment, a barrage of logs simply emerged down from underneath, dragging and pushing and shoving this creature further towards the cave this way. As it was impacted, pushing along, it almost went plummeting for a moment as it started to stumble off the edge, barely grabbing on with its claws, gripping onto the edge, a barrage of logs impacting it and crushing and squishing against the dermis of its body. Though well adapted to claw strikes and piercing, it seemed that the raw weight behind the logs crushing into its body was enough to send its eyes flailing, its body spasming, and its whole form shifting. It wanted to run, but one last little trick. The wire gripping around its hand now hung it over the edge. Its saving grace, also its curse to its death.
I watched as the plan that was so quickly thrown together actually managed to come to fruition, something that I definitely wouldn't have been able to do alone. Hopefully, even with this small movement here, I've managed to go and ingratiate myself with the others, and maybe we can still travel together after all of this is over. But it's not over yet.
With the creature dangling over the edge, I noticed once more readjustment. All of them lined up rather conveniently in a row, watching their prey dangle down beneath them, holding on, scampering, its eyes closing and shutting due to the many wounds and injuries it's faced. It was afraid. Though its gaze could almost kill with a glance, it was afraid of more injuries to what it valued more than anything, what it was designed to protect. It clawed its way out, snapping that autonomous maw randomly, snatching away to try to find anything, confused at what the logs were. Were they enemies, beasts? What could cause it to twist so? What could hurt it so? It had no understanding that the beast it was hunting, its prey, in this moment, were about to deliver its death blow.
I think it only needs like a little bit more of a push, so I might as well just give it to it, I guess. I lean down and I pick up this log in a very awkward manner, but it's the best way to throw it, trust me. And 1, 2, and I don't know, nothing special about it, I just threw it.
The log seemed to arc at an angle, shifting over and almost true to the word landed near perfectly at the thing's base of the neck. It slammed down, crushing, and the thing's mouth almost spasmed, howling out this empty, windless cry as the thing almost arced, barely being dragged on. It slowly tried to crawl up, snapping in the direction of the air which the log came from. Its eyes shut, it had no idea of knowing where its target was. Almost pitifully, the apex predator was being... I can't seem to think of a pun. I'll get back to that one.
Taken over by an uncharacteristic glee, I ran myself forward, darting towards the creature. I don't know exactly what came over me, but in that moment, I leaped in the air and delivered a flying kick.
Leaping through the air, Yagamelayayo jumped, a kick flying out, hitting the sharp claw, and almost detaching and snapping the wire, the last bit of extra weight needed to cause it plummeting down. As the creature fell, the jump kick rendering its arm no longer functional and the wire snapping, it almost felt like in that moment that the creature had been lost, that it had finally plummeted. Barely holding itself high, it however managed to hold on with the last bit of energy, almost rendering itself up and flailing back on top, attempting in a last-ditch effort to try to pull itself loose, bring itself back up, and bite back at its attacker.
I hate monsters like you. You make this dungeon so dangerous. Not as bad as the Boomies, but somehow feels worse having you here.
With deft precision, Arcat pierced down into the skull, and the entire creature slumped, laying flat on the ground.
Pull it up, pull it up, pull it up, pull it up. If it falls into the ravine, we can't get anything from it. Come on,
yeah,
come on.
yeah.
You too. Gestures.
I watched the three struggle to pull in some way, trying the best to do something.
Come on, help out.
They did urge me up. As I approached, climbing down, I was fascinated myself afterwards, gazing at the multiple different injuries along the way, the blunt trauma wounds. It was all very fascinating. However, it was finally the pull of the other one, Strege, who, together, we managed to drift and pull it out of the ravine, bringing it back.
Close one there. We almost lost a lot of goods down there. Right. Turns, realizes there's an adventure here. Where are my manners? Hi. Welcome to, you heard the spiel already.
Yes. Hello. It's nice to meet you. I was a member of the adventuring party that rolled through here, though it seems that I have switched occupations. I raised up my skeletal arm, showing the way it bended and twisted.
The animation, huh? Oh, okay.
Would you happen to know a thing about this?
Nope, but there might be people back in the village who do. Venture back to the village. That's.
I look at this Boomy. I was a little distracted for the entire fight because I just had one thought that I think will embarrass me for the rest of my life. As I said, you know, lady, a little lotion can go a long way, you know?
I don't think that's quite the circumstances at hand. But in a desperation to try and lighten the mood and to prevent my new acquaintance from becoming even more exhausted with the day that she was having, I think we did an excellent work today, everybody. I can definitely say that this monster did not see us coming.
Yes, very impressive work, my fellow merchant.
Oh, good. I'm glad you agree.
Absolutely impressive. Where are you from? I actually don't recognize you. What part of the mountain?
Oh I should probably introduce myself to everybody. I did introduce myself to the young miss previously, gesturing towards.
Yes.
I am the Gartrinus Kana, a traveling tailor and a researcher of Gullivan anthropology. It is a pleasure to meet all of you.
I am going to need you to say those words significantly slower so that I can process half of them. Leans in. Are you in danger? Is she threatening you?
Yeah, if you want that Boomy gone, I can make them gone.
Do you need help?
Oh,
You good?
No. It's nothing like that. She is a little intimidating, I do agree. But she did prevent us from being swallowed alive before we met you all, so I think she's owed at least that much.
You're not being held against. Listen, I've heard stories about adventurers grabbing Galoins and making them explore out in front to just like sort of suss out traps for them. Is that what's happening?
Oh my gosh, really? Is that something that can happen?
Oh yeah, all the time.
Consider that as an option. I My eyes glanced across the slain beast to the now increasingly tired-looking adventurer, and a sudden moment of suspicion ruffled my fur. Still, at the very least, it would be excellent if, after this matter, I could spend some time with all of you. I'm afraid I did arrive at the dungeon by myself. There was somebody I was supposed to meet. I was supposed to be meeting with fellow Gullowin.
Oh, yeah, that's what I was supposed to do today. Hi, I was supposed to meet you at the It's me, Strege.
You're Strege.
Yep.
Strega, you said you were free.
I thought I was. I mean, we're all free to a certain extent, right?
My frustration quickly passed as I remembered that, this is finally my opportunity to, well, I suppose make an impression a second time over. Well, Strega, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It's a pleasure to finally meet you in person. I hope you've enjoyed my letters.
Yeah. I guess I never really fully told this person the worst parts about it, and I was hoping that they'd never meet it, but with how crazy things have been going recently, I am afraid that they may become disillusioned with the world around them. Yeah, nice to meet ya. Welcome to the dungeon. It's gonna be great.
Oh, don't worry. While I think that my first day has already been a little intense, I think I will enjoy spending time getting to know all of you. My eyes moved across the form of the person who's introduced themselves as Strege. Their outfit was surprisingly unusual. Their build a little taller and more muscular than the average Gullowin, at least as far as I've read. It seems that they weren't able to find that many clothes in their size, meaning that their current attire is slightly patchwork. I must ask, where do you how have you kind of arranged your general fashion situation? Immediately, my nature of wanting to learn overstepped my need to adhere to social grace, and I immediately got up in his grill.
Hey, Boomy,
Yeah.
you like these lizard things, right?
I don't really have much of an opinion either way or the other.
You want to see what's?
It was just an enemy we had to fight.
Do you want to see what's inside?
Oh, I hate this part.
Oh. I watched her almost surgically undo part of the beast, cutting down beneath the dermis line, underneath the belly, and opening up some of the eyes. And what was inside was positively wonderful. It was an array of glowing, glittering. The eyes were so special looking that I unfortunately had to shove that on my brain. I see. It's an interesting thing indeed, but should we be here right now?
Huh? Why is that?
Oh, well, it's just, Bassamanders usually, well, they have rather large, pools of youth.
Yeah.
A hunting one, if that's what you were doing with the trap, you were attempting to hunt it?
Looks over at the hunters. Yes.
Well, they're incapable of smelling, but they do have great sensations, and the roars that Bassermanor make can be heard well across the entire cave network.
Oh, that's interesting.
They hear in vibrations. That's why their roars sound rather a mix of high and low frequencies combined into one.
I don't like the sound of this. Could you get to the point?
I pulled myself back, very much slipping into a state I was not able to be in right now. Yes, we should go. That's what I'm saying. You had mentioned that there was a town nearby?
Okay. You can come with us on one condition.
Understood.
Do you understand the state that you're in right now?
I looked down. I'm dead, right? What does this mean to you?
Actually, it means quite a bit to us. It means, more or less, pretty much, you're going to get treated, like another monster of the dungeon? Sort of gesticulates to self. So, I want to make one thing abundantly clear, because we've done this song and dance once or twice, before. If you come back with us to the village, you can't freak out and start killing people.
I blinked, rather curious about the way she had said that. I found myself prying a little bit more. Song and dance before. Yes, do you mean when we came through the first time?
We occasionally have opened our village to the exterior, and every single time, without fail, we have been punished for it. Your current circumstance definitely does, well, it should endear you to us, but there's no guarantee when it comes to those who come from outside the dungeon to begin with. So, I want you to be abundantly sure that you understand your current circumstance, and we are, I believe the term should be, your wonderful benefactors. At least at the moment.
I see.
We're your best hope for getting out of here, at the very least. We can sell you cloths and furs to cover your forms so that people don't judge you for not moisturizing. But at the very least, you should understand one thing. The rest of the adventurers aren't gonna treat you like that anymore, you know? You're gonna get hunted just like the rest of us.
Oh, sorry to interrupt. Like the rest of us?
Oh, yeah. I mean, looks over at Arcot. I mean, a lot of us may have had associations with the, what were we supposed to call the Lich?
What?
Lord of the Dungeon.
A grand wizard.
Reigning Regent.
Asshole boss.
Right.
Hate to say it, but if you're an undead and you're wandering around still, that puts you on a very specific team.
I can see the predicament you might be in, miss.
Yes. I understand this predicament.
I have an idea to sneak you in if you want.
What's that?
I lean down with this idea. While risky, it should guarantee the ability to go into the village. I reach into the monster's mouth and open it. I mean, if you climb in and then we just like take this thing in, I don't think they'll check inside. And then we'll just like cut you out later. Does that sound good?
I felt my brain stop. I suppose that would be a good idea. Inside me, I felt a strong urge, one that went against every single survival instinct. No, in no document sheet have I ever seen the inside of a Bassermander before. Most approaching would die. If there are no other options. I eagerly stepped forward, peeling open the mouth, feeling the bone almost cut into it slightly the way I pulled. Just to make sure no one ever comes in here and tries to look too deeply, all right?
I mean, like, it wouldn't be the first time you look in a Bassamander's mouth and there's a dead Boomy. What can you get more dead?
I suppose that makes sense. This seems like a good plan. Yes, I'll get inside. I crawled inside rather swiftly, pulling myself deeper inside of it, noticing multiple wounds and injuries slammed against the thing. A few holes had been poked in. Moving inside, I began to feel and press around during certain parts of the eyes. Unknowing to me at the time, I was making bumps appear on the outside, pushing the thing like some awful worm trying to escape from within it.
As I watched the young miss explore the inside of the creature that we had collectively killed, I wondered to myself, just what was she doing when she died, and was it at all similar to this?
I leaned over to Gartrinus and was like, your friend is awfully enthusiastic about this.
I would say that we are maybe acquaintances at best. Although, by the way, you said that you had seen her before. Just how long ago was that?
Thinking back, well, okay. The main way that we've been able to sort of skate by is by acting as helpful shopkeepers to assist on the way down the dungeon. They don't even necessarily know what type of creature I am.
Right,
I
because they
think
would
it
hunt
was-
you otherwise, you said.
I think I sold them potions like about a week and a half ago.
Oh my gosh, I told her it was a month ago. Well, at the very least, I don't think she's going to be questioning it. I think her sense of time is slightly warped. So, if I don't tell, you won't tell, right?
Of course not.
Oh, fabulous. Much appreciated.
By the way, my name is Yayo Mello Yayo. I am currently studying to be functionally the village elder, you could say.
Without a beat. Yayo mela yayo, yayo yayo yayo. A pleasure.
Holds out a hand to shake hands.
Oh, I would love to have a chat about your current business as a merchant, but we must find a place to find shelter, get this thing outside,
Yes.
and most ideally, have a cup of tea.
Pauses.
You all drink tea, right?
Looks at the other two. Yeah, we probably have some of that around.
Is that a Huma word for something?
Where are you guys going? I need help with this thing,
Oh, right,
please.
sorry.
What? I thought you're strong.
Arcat, you position the logs under it, and I pull. That's like it, right? Like, and you guys like,
Hey! Hey, guys!
yeah.
Running up behind, Matatok returned, and with him came two others. I heard them at the time. I had been hearing everything that had been said in the past couple of minutes, and as they approached, hey, so I brought help. Oh, damn, you already killed it.
Yeah. Already more than handled by our capable hunters.
Could have been faster.
A voice I didn't recognize spoke up. I mean, that makes it easier. Let's just get it out of here. Come on, quick, before the Strolls show up.
Yeah, let's start moving it. I'd hate to have another incident.
Understood. Let's get moving.
As we progressed, I heard the following things. Whoa, hey! Is that... Well, what the hell's that?
Please hold your applause, everyone.
The loud drums began to bang. They got Sadatanarad! Bring it back!
But of course we did.
I heard more steps and more commotion. People talking and making all sorts of noises as, scaling around, I could hear the sounds of rocks falling, Galoins approaching, and the weight seemed to grow lighter and lighter as more and more were pulled in, and eventually I heard quite a large commotion. The noise of the surrounding area was intense. I didn't think there was a town this big underground, but I don't think my ears were deceiving me either. Even through this form, there were plenty of holes to hear clearly. It truly was a mini little city.